Hey, want to make your English sound, well, more natural? A lot more descriptive? Perfect. Today, we're going to break down 10 everyday phrases that'll get you there.
You know that feeling when you're stuck, just using the same basic words over and over again? You want to sound more convincing, right? More descriptive, but the right phrases they're not there when you need them. If that sounds like you, then you are definitely in the right place.
So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll talk about a super common problem for English learners. Then, we'll dive into phrases for expressing nuance, showing a little attitude, and describing action. And finally, we'll wrap it all up. Sound good? Let's jump in.
Okay, so Section 1. What is this everyday English problem we're talking about? Well, it all comes down to that desire to express yourself in a way that feels more, well, real.
You know what I'm talking about, right? It's that feeling when your thoughts are way more complex than the words you have on hand. You want to get past the simple stuff and really say what you mean, just like you would in your native language.
Okay, Section 2. Let's get into our first batch of phrases. These are the ones that help you master the art of the in-between. You know, all those subtle little meanings that make a conversation feel so much more authentic.
So first up, we've got the word lukewarm. And this one is great. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. It can literally describe temperature, but it can also be used to talk about someone's attitude.
And here's where it gets interesting. The contrast between the two meanings. So on one hand, you might ask for lukewarm water, and that's just temperature, no big deal. But on the other hand, if you say someone was lukewarm about your amazing new idea, oof, that's a negative. It means they had basically zero passion or real interest.
Next up, we have, "We'll see what happens." This is your absolute go-to phrase for when things are uncertain. You've done what you can, and now you're just waiting to see the result. Oh, and a quick tip on pronunciation. In American English, you'll hear will get shortened to sound more like wool. We'll see what happens. Super common.
Oh, this next one is so much fun. The suffix ish. It is such a simple way to make your language less rigid, you know? Instead of saying around 30, just say 30-ish. If something's not quite blue, it's bluish. It just adds this awesome, natural flexibility to the way you talk.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Look at this. This quote from Dr. Seuss's The Lorax just brilliantly shows the power of ish. Shortish, oldish, brownish, sharpish, bossy. It creates this vivid, playful, and kind of vague description. It's a perfect example of how creative you can get with this little suffix.
Okay, moving on to Section 3. Now we're talking about phrases for showing a little attitude. These are the words you use to really inject your personality, your feelings right into the conversation. Let's start with the phrase, "who cares?" This is how you signal that you're just not going to let a small problem ruin your day. So maybe your plans get canceled because of rain. Instead of getting all upset, you can just shrug and say, who cares? We'll do it another time. See? It shows you're relaxed and flexible.
Next up, embrace it. This is so powerful. It's about more than just, accepting something. It's about welcoming it completely. A perfect example. Maybe you worry about your accent when you speak English. Well, instead of fighting it, you can choose to embrace it. It's part of who you are, a person who speaks more than one language. That's awesome.
And then there's "don't mind me." This is a really subtle little social tool. You use it when you get caught doing something, well, a little informal or maybe even embarrassing. You know, like using your fingers to get the last bit of honey out of the jar and someone walks in. You just say, "Oh, don't mind me." You're basically saying, "Please ignore this, just carry on with your day."
All right, here we go. Section 4, our final group of phrases. These are all about describing action, the effort we put into things, and what we learn from actually doing them. First up, the classic idiom, blood, sweat, and tears. This one signifies a huge amount of effort. You wouldn't say an easy 30-minute bread recipe took blood, sweat, and tears. But building a business from scratch over 12 years? Oh yeah, that absolutely took blood, sweat, and tears. It just perfectly captures the idea of putting your entire being into a project.
Next, we have hands-on. And just like lukewarm, this one has both a literal and a figurative meaning. In a recipe, 5 minutes of hands-on work means you're literally using your hands to knead dough or something. But a hands-on parent? That means a parent who is super actively and directly involved in their kids' lives. Totally different meaning.
Okay, how about just to be safe? Or its partner, just in case. These two are pretty much interchangeable.
You use them when you're taking a small, simple precaution against a potential problem. You're not worried about some huge danger. You're just trying to avoid a minor hassle.
And here's a perfect little story to make it stick. So, the situation. The teacher says the kids played in the rain. The risk? Well, your son's feet are probably going to get wet. So what's the precaution? You pack an extra pair of socks just to be safe. It's that simple solution to a predictable little problem.
And our final phrase for this section is, I have found that. Now hold on, this isn't about finding your lost keys. This is about sharing a piece of wisdom, something you've learned from personal experience. You could say something like, I have found that drinking black tea in the morning is way better for me than coffee. See? It's a really strong way to frame a personal discovery.
Okay, section 5, let's wrap this all up. Think of these 10 phrases as a brand new toolkit for you, designed to build more natural and expressive sentences.
So, here it is, your takeaway toolkit. You want to express nuance? Use ish and lukewarm. Want to show some attitude? Go for who cares and embrace it. Describing action? You've got hands-on and blood, sweat, and tears. Sharing experience? I have found that. Taking precautions? Just to be safe. You now have a specific phrase for all these situations to help you sound so much more authentic. So, that leads to the real question, doesn't it? Which of these new phrases are you going to use first? Seriously, pick one and try to use it in your very next English conversation. Thanks so much for joining me for this one.